The first time I met an alien, I didn't expect her to blush. Most people imagine humanity's first contact with extraterrestrials happening in front of world leaders, scientists, and cameras flashing like fireworks. They imagine speeches, handshakes, and carefully translated greetings. My first contact happened in the middle of nowhere while I was fixing a broken antenna in the desert. My name is Aaron Cole, a communications engineer stationed at a remote research outpost built miles away from civilization. The base existed for one purpose: to listen. For decades, humanity had been scanning deep space for signals, patterns in radio waves, mathematical greetings, anything that might prove we weren't alone. Most days, the monitors hummed with meaningless static. But on that night, everything changed. The sky above the desert looked impossibly clear, dotted with stars so bright they almost felt close enough to touch. I was sitting outside the small station building, drinking cheap coffee while waiting for the antenna system to reboot. Then the sky flickered. At first, I thought it was a shooting star, but it didn't streak across the sky. It stopped. A glowing object hovered silently above the dunes, its metallic surface reflecting starlight. It looked like a curved silver drop floating in the air. I stared at it for a long time before whispering to myself, "That's definitely not a plane." The object slowly descended behind a nearby ridge. And against every logical instinct in my brain, I grabbed my flashlight and walked toward it. The desert at night can be terrifyingly quiet. Every step through the sand felt too loud. My heart hammered as I climbed the ridge. I expected explosions, alien machines, maybe something hostile. Instead, I saw a small ship resting in the sand like a fallen star. It was smooth and oval-shaped, about the size of a van, glowing faintly along its edges. And beside it stood someone, or something. At first glance, she looked human. A tall woman with pale silver hair that flowed down her back. Her skin had a faint bluish tint that shimmered softly under the moonlight. Her eyes were larger than normal, glowing faintly like distant stars. She wore a sleek, dark suit that looked more like liquid metal than fabric. When she saw me, she froze. And I froze. We stared at each other in complete silence. Finally, she spoke. "Human," she said carefully, her voice soft and melodic. I blinked. "You speak English?" She tilted her head slightly. "Your planet broadcasts millions of signals into space. Learning your language was simple." That made sense. Still, my brain struggled to process what I was seeing. An alien, standing in front of me, talking calmly. "So," I said slowly, "first contact." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You are not frightened?" I shrugged nervously. "I probably should be." She studied me carefully, as if trying to understand something. Then she said, "My vessel suffered a navigation failure. I will repair it and depart shortly." "Oh," I said. "Well, welcome to Earth." She seemed confused by the phrase. Humans tend to say weird things when they're nervous. For the next hour, I watched as she worked on her ship. Strange panels opened and closed, revealing glowing components that hummed softly. Her tools looked like floating crystals that responded to her gestures. It was the most advanced technology one had ever seen. But what fascinated me even more was her. Despite clearly being alien, her expressions were oddly human. She frowned when something malfunctioned. She sighed when a component refused to cooperate. At one point, she muttered something in a language that definitely wasn't English. "Having trouble?" I asked. She glanced at me. "The energy core requires recalibration. Need help?" Her expression clearly said, "You absolutely cannot help with alien technology." But after a moment, she said, "Perhaps an additional set of hands may be useful." I grinned. And just like that, Humanity's first interstellar collaboration began with me holding a glowing cylinder while she adjusted strange energy conduits. During the repair process, we talked. Her name, she explained, was Lyra. She came from a star system nearly 80 light-years away. Her species traveled the galaxy studying emerging civilizations. Apparently, Earth had recently appeared on their observation lists. Wait, I said. So you've been watching us? Observing, she corrected calmly. Is there a difference? Yes. I nodded slowly. Fair enough. She explained that her mission was supposed to be a simple survey flight, but a gravitational disturbance had damaged her navigation systems, which led to her emergency landing in the middle of the desert where I happened to be the only human around. Lucky coincidence. Or maybe fate. As the night went on, the tension between us slowly faded. Lyra was curious about everything. Human food, human music, human humor. When I tried explaining memes, she looked deeply concerned about our species' mental stability. Eventually, we took a short break from repairing the ship. We sat on the sand, looking up at the stars. It felt surreal. An alien traveler and a random human engineer sharing quiet conversation under the same sky. You are unusual, she said suddenly. Good unusual or bad unusual? She considered it. Most species react to first contact with fear or aggression. Well, I said, give humanity time. That made her laugh softly. It was the first time I heard her laugh. And honestly, it was adorable. That's when I made the mistake. She was looking up at the stars, her glowing eyes reflecting the night sky. A faint breeze moved through her silver hair. Without thinking, I said it. You know, you're kinda cute. The words slipped out before my brain could stop them. Lyra slowly turned toward me. For a second, I worried I had just committed some kind of intergalactic insult. Then something unexpected happened. Her cheeks changed color. A faint purple glow spread across her face. She quickly looked away. Your statement is unexpected. I blinked. Wait, are you blushing? She said nothing, which basically confirmed it. I burst out laughing. An alien blushing because a human called her cute. That reaction is not humorous, she said, though her voice sounded slightly embarrassed. Sorry, I said, trying to stop laughing. It's just, I didn't think aliens did that. Many species possess involuntary emotional indicators. So you do blush. She sighed. Yes. I grinned. That's adorable. Her face turned even brighter purple. After that moment, something between us changed. The conversation became easier, more relaxed. She began asking more personal questions about Earth and human life. I told her about cities, oceans, music festivals, and crowded streets full of strangers. To someone who traveled the galaxy studying civilizations, these things fascinated her. You care deeply about individuals, she said. Most species prioritize collective efficiency. Humans prioritize chaos, I said. She smiled. I noticed. Hours passed. Eventually, the ship repairs were nearly complete. Lyra stood beside the vessel, activating the final systems. Lights pulsed along its surface. It is time for me to depart, she said quietly. Something about those words made my chest tighten. I had only known her for a few hours, but somehow it felt like saying goodbye to an old friend, or something more. Well, I said awkwardly, good luck out there in space. She hesitated. Then she said something surprising. I will remember this encounter. Me too. She stepped toward the ship, then paused. You called me cute earlier, she said. Yes, sorry about that. She looked at me again, that faint purple glow returning to her cheeks. In my culture, that word carries significant meaning. Oh, My brain immediately assumed I had accidentally proposed marriage to an alien. What kind of meaning? She hesitated. Then she said quietly, "It is something one says to someone they'd admire." I rubbed the back of my neck. Well, I guess that's true. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The desert wind moved softly across the sand. Then she smiled. A small, genuine smile. Perhaps humans are not as primitive as the report suggested. Hey, we try. She stepped into the ship. The door began to close. Then she looked back at me one last time. Aaron. Yeah. Her glowing eyes met mine. On my next survey cycle, I may return to this planet. I felt a sudden spark of excitement. Oh, yes, she said softly. And when I do... She paused. I would like to learn more about this human concept of cute. The door sealed shut. The ship lifted silently into the air. Within seconds, it shot upward into the stars. And just like that, she was gone. For a long time, I stood there staring at the sky, wondering if I would ever see her again, wondering if the entire night had been some kind of dream. But the footprints in the sand proved it had been real. Humanity had made first contact. And somehow, it involved me accidentally flirting with an alien. The ending. 6 months later, I was still working at the desert station. Most nights were quiet again. Just static signals and endless stars. But one evening, while checking the antenna systems, the sky flickered. A familiar silver glow appeared above the dunes. I slowly smiled. Well, I whispered to myself. Guess she came back. And as the ship descended toward the desert once again, I couldn't help but wonder what would happen next. Because somewhere out there in the galaxy, there was an alien woman who blushed when I called her cute. And apparently, she wanted to see me again.